So now we have some interesting ideas. In the last problem, we used the quadratic formula. Well, you know, when you use the quadratic formula, maybe you're going to get an I, and that's going to be a complex number that has an imaginary part, and that wouldn't be a real number. So think back to when we were working with things graphically. If you have, you know, a parabola that's like this, and it's not going to intercept the x-axis, then it's not going to ever equal 0. And if you're greater than 0, then everything would work because all of those values are above the 0, you know. Or you could have something like this, and if it were less than 0, then, you know, all of them would be less than 0. Okay, so let's see what happens in these two problems. We have negative x squared plus 2x minus 4 is less than or equal to 0. Now, let's go ahead and use the quadratic formula. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times the a times the c. Now, this time I didn't divide everything by -1. You could have, but I didn't. And let's see what happens. -2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 16. Okay, that's going to be a problem because that's going to be a -12. And so I've got the square root of a negative number, so it's going to be, you know, an I situation. So let's finish it off. -2 plus or minus square root of -12 over -2. Which is going to be, here it goes, -2 plus or minus 2i square root 3. Or you can put the I in the back. It's going to look like that. And if I factor out a 2, I'll probably factor out a -2. That's going to be 1 plus or minus 2i square root 3. It doesn't matter that it was a negative. The plus or minus is still going to be plus or minus. I guess you could write them minus plus, but we don't. All right, so we get this. That's an imaginary number, and so it means that it's either above or it's below the x-axis. Well, it's upside down, right? We know it's upside down because of the negative in front there. So we know it's this case right here. Everything is less than 0. Okay, this says, hey, we want these values to be less than or equal to 0. Everything works. Negative infinity to infinity. That's going to be the answer. That's for part A. Now part B, you have the same quadratic here, but now we want it to be greater than or equal to 0. Well, there aren't any that are going to be greater. They were all less than 0, so there's going to be no solution here. Okay, there we go.